Welcome to PacWest Magazine, the radio show. The show about our exciting Pacific West Conference. The PacWest is made up of NCAA Division II universities from Arizona and Utah to California and Hawaii. It's the most beautiful and diverse athletic conference in the entire NCAA. This is Commissioner Bob Hogue, inviting you to join our outstanding coaches, student-athletes, and administrators as we talk about the great excitement in the PacWest. Now here's Assistant Commissioner Tom DiCamillo, live from our studios in Santan, Arizona.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Tom DiCamillo, Joe Carrero. We are live in the Santan Valley in gorgeous Arizona, and this is PacWest Radio, and we are going to talk women's volleyball today, Joe. A great race coming down to the wire here. Several teams involved in a battle for the conference championship, but right now the two teams at the top are both unbeaten in the conference, both 8-0, and that's BYU Hawaii and Fresno Pacific University. Fresno Pacific is one of the new schools in the conference and has a long-standing tradition of outstanding women's volleyball at the NAIA level. They are not eligible for the NCAA tournament this year. BYU Hawaii is, but they are eligible for the PacWest Championship. And we're gonna visit with Kelly Winter, the head coach, and also with one of the top players in the conference, Kathleen Anderson. Then later on in the program, we're going to talk with Wilfred Navalta, the head coach of BYU Hawaii. And both Fresno Pacific and BYU Hawaii are ranked in the top 25 in the American Volleyball Coaches Association poll. And Joe, it's coming down to the fall sports. You can kind of see the downward slope. Cross-country championships are a week from Saturday, and next Thursday we're going to do a preview of the cross-country championships. And then 2 weeks after that, the next 2 weeks is basketball. So we're going to get started here, get a hold of Kelly Winter, the head coach of Fresno Pacific. And so the next few weeks will be exciting. Next week, again, we're going to have the cross-country championship preview next Thursday. And then during the first 2 weeks of November, we will do the men's and then women's basketball media day in the Pac-West, and with 14 schools. And this year it'll be the first men's and women's basketball championship in the Pac-West to actually have a postseason tournament. And but this year, or right now as we speak, is volleyball season, and along with soccer and some other sports. But one of the biggest reasons that the Pacific West Conference volleyball schedule, the conference as a whole, has strengthened has been the addition of the NAIA schools into Division II, and specifically Fresno Pacific. And at this time we have Kelly Winter, the head coach of Fresno Pacific, the Sunbirds. Kelly, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Kelly, I know you have Kathleen Anderson there with you. We're going to talk about PacWest volleyball, but we'd like to talk about, for you guys, this transition going from an NAIA school to a Division II program. You guys are having tremendous success as a Division II program. You're not eligible for the postseason in terms of the NCAA championships this year, but obviously eligible for the PacWest Conference Championship. But talk about what it's been like to transition for you as a coach, moving from the NAIA and then to Division II.
It's been a lot the same, but also, a lot of things that are very different. What I like about the transition and the change is the different teams that we get to play. We knew the teams in the AI so well, and we knew what to expect, the style of volleyball. So we kind of, everything was predictable, but now we have different style of volleyball. The one team is, much more defensively oriented or offensively oriented. So there's some changes that kind of make the game a little bit more exciting and interesting and different for us. So we've had to make some adjustments on our end. So that's been really good for us as a coach. We've just kept us on our toes, and I love the video exchange program that we've got. So that's been great. But when it comes down to it, the volleyball is very similar, and everybody plays great volleyball, and so it's been fun for us to just compete, but also get to go to a lot of different places. And we visited some great places and some new environments, and meeting, and new relationships with different coaches and different athletes and, and different administrators at different schools. So that's been great for me. I love meeting new people and getting to know, just a different conference.
Some of the players you have on the team right now, and Kathleen maybe be one of them, that they're having a unique opportunity that they had an opportunity to play against in the old conference with NAIA schools. Then they go through the transition, and then by the time the next year or two comes, eventually when they're eligible for postseason, they're going to have that full gamut of knowing the history of Fresno Pacific and all the success it had at the NAIA, as well as being sort of pioneers of being Division II, and that's probably a really unique situation for the student athletes there.
Oh, I think so. I think it's going to be a great thing where they're going to get to talk about, like, I was there in that transition. Years down the road, they're going to be the ones that kind of pioneered it. And it's really exciting for us that we're doing so well because, there was so much, like, apprehension and just not knowing, like, what to expect. And the fact that we've been successful and we're excited with the volleyball that we're playing. Our team's doing really well. It makes the transition that just more kind of meaningful, and it's exciting that this is the group that is pioneering. And I keep telling him, like, in the NAIA we had respect because we're Fresno Pacific, and in the NCAA we're having to earn that, and so they're having to work that much harder for it. And so that's what's exciting for me, is that they've earned every bit of the respect that they are getting right now.
What's been the biggest surprise, or what's been some of the things that's really maybe you didn't expect now that you're going through the whole conference schedule in the Pac West? Was there anything that kind of jumped out at you and said, wow, maybe I really didn't expect that?
Well, I don't know that I didn't expect it, but I would say the biggest surprise is what good defense teams play. I mean, the rallies are just so much longer. I'd say in the NAIA, we were pretty offensively heavy, and rallies, you just had big, tall girls. Now there's so much better defense. The rallies are a lot longer. We're having to work that much harder for the wins. And so that's been really good for us, and it's helped us get better because we know that, we have to work a little bit harder for our kills.
As a coach, seeing that difference, did you have to adjust your game at all? Did you have to adjust your philosophy at all?
Definitely. I mean, it changes everything. It changes our practice, changes how we attack things. It changes what we're telling our hitters.
Before we bring in Kathleen Anderson, I'd like you to talk about, I've been watching her, her stats and the results all year long, but talk about what kind of player she is, because one of the things that's very hard about volleyball stats that I often say is you can look in basketball and football and soccer and you see those stats, but volleyball is almost very specialized, and the stats are almost like in compartments. Somebody may not have a lot of kills, but it doesn't mean they're not an outstanding player because they're the libero and they're getting their assists or they're getting digs, and it's sort of broken up. So talk about Kathleen Anderson and what kind of player she is that people would see beyond just looking at stats.
She is one of those players that she could have a night that, she only hit 300 and she's really upset with herself. So we look at but look how many blocks you had and look at the presence that you had on the court. When we take her off the court, things change. And she is just a huge presence for us, and it doesn't even matter if she gets the kills that night or not, or the blocks for that matter. The hitters see her in there and they're hitting around her, because she does such a good job for us. But not only that, but she's probably the most stable player that we have on the team. And she's the one that we count on, we go to. She's just that player that steps up when we need her to step up, and always looks to herself for, like, corrections. If she misses something, she immediately, wants to correct it, wants to fix it. So she's just an invaluable player and just a great leader for us by example. She just wants to do everything right. You gotta love those kids. She's
currently, as of this morning, ranked 4th in the conference in hitting with a 332 percentage. She's also the top. Ranks top in blocks per set with 1.43, pretty dominating in that category. As a coach, for fans of volleyball that maybe don't understand the statistics, is there any specific category that, as a coach, that you think is most important? Or is it just so different it's hard to do?
Yeah, it's so different. It's so hard. Every single position. We were looking at, what player even is the most important player on the court, and you can't even do that because each one is invaluable, and that's the great thing that I love about a team is that each player is so important. Without an awesome libero, we can't get anything started. Without a great setter to give the ball to our hitters can't do anything. And so it's so interrelated, which is what I love about the game. And it just teaches you teamwork and just teaches you, that reliance on each other. And I think that's what makes us strong, is that we focus so much on just being a team.
You said something interesting about Kathleen, about her being in there. She may not get stats, but people are trying to hit around her. Explain that. That's in a game that's on a court when you're trying to hit around somebody. That's very difficult to do. And now you've just basically created somebody you're intimidating the other team. Is really what it comes down to, just by her presence.
Yeah, it definitely does that. And so, it's a bit of intimidating, but, if I'm a hitter and I'm looking at my blockers, I'm not hitting into her. I'm hitting, into somebody else, or I'm trying to get it back to the back row and let the defense do the job. But, it definitely helps us when we know that the hitters are trying to do that. So,
I think you have Kathleen there with you
yes.
With the room. Why don't you put her on? We'll talk to Kathleen Anderson from Fresno Pacific. And
all right. Good.
Kathleen, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hi, Kathleen. Welcome to Pac West Radio.
Hi, thank you.
Kathleen, I know your coach you probably were there, heard your coach talking about you as a player. I'd like to get from a student-athlete's perspective, what has it been like for you to play in the Pac West this year?
Well, it's been totally different just because we're going different places, seeing new teams and new competition. So it's been an experience, that's for sure, just because you have to adjust to so many different elements. But it's been so much fun. I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Kelly was talking about the transition, that when you were in the NEI, there was probably a lot more offense-oriented, where one of what she's seen this year is that teams in the Pac West and Division II play a lot more defense. Is that something that you've seen too?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes, you think you're going to hit, or you hit a really hard ball, and you think, oh, that should go down, but then all of a sudden it's back up, and you have to defend. So it's crazy just how much of a difference the defense is and offense. I mean, both sides, I think, have really stepped it up, and so that makes us have to work harder to get on that level as well.
You're leading the conference in blocks right now with a 1.43 per set average. Do you take pride in that? Do you like playing defense when you see somebody coming and trying to spike the ball, that you can get up and kind of repel it back at them? Is that something that you get a charge out of being on the court?
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun, and you feel like you're contributing so much to your team. And so that's the aspect I like best, is that it makes me feel like I'm helping out my team even more.
When you're on the court and the team thinks, the opposing team thinks they got an easy kill, and they're going to get a point, and you block it, does that give more momentum, you think, for a team as opposed to an ace or getting your own kill? I mean, now you've stopped the other team, you've scored a point, you kind of hit it right back in their face. Is that more of a momentum sort of builder? The team gets more up for seeing something like that?
A point is a point, and I think that any point, no matter what it is, should be equally able to contribute to our momentum. And I think that's something that we could work on, is keeping that momentum alive, even if it is an easy point, or even if it is just a missed serve or something like that. I think everything should be momentum toward us. But there's definitely plays, at the end of a long rally, if we're the ones ending up on top, and that definitely gives us momentum into the next point.
I know that Fresno Pacific, in its long history of national championships and the NAI level and conference championships and postseason, this year the school, because of being in the transition, not eligible for the NCAA tournament. So how important is it for you and the players on this team to really go after that conference title, because you can't go to the NCAA tournament yet?
That's our ultimate goal. I feel like it's really important for us to be able to show them that we're just not a regular team. We're here for a reason, and we're going to work our hardest to try to be the best. And I think that's definitely important to us. And it's important that we make a statement to the conference and to the other teams.
And as a player, you're looking down the line. It's coaches will talk about trying to keep players from looking down the line of the schedule, playing one match at a time. But it's no secret that October 30th, you guys are going to be playing BYU Hawaii, and both of you have matches between now and then. And both of BYU Hawaii and you are both tied at the top of the conference with no losses in conference. How do you, as a player and as a team leader, keep the rest of the team from saying, hey, that game's 12 days away. We need to focus on what's coming up. How do you do that?
Our coaches have done a really good job by incorporating things that we're weak on in the practice. So when we do meet up with big teams, we're able to really capitalize on those things that they might have seen in video that were our weaknesses. So in gearing up to BYU, we've been having some video on them, and so we're trying to adapt during practices and work hard and focusing on the next games to improve us for that match.
Kathleen, we appreciate you joining the program. Good luck in your stretch of games, and we're all looking forward to that game on October 30th against BYU Hawaii. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Kathleen Anderson along with Kelly Winter, the head coach of Fresno Pacific, and now we're going to get a hold of Wilfred Navalta, the head coach of BYU Hawaii, and the Seasiders are ranked in the top 25 of the AVCA poll, and we're going to talk to Wilfred as his outstanding program this year, and again on a collision course with Fresno Pacific at FPU on October 30th. And the Seasiders this year 8-0 in the conference. They are led by Shi-Ting Chen. She's hitting .333 in the conference. She's ranked third, and she's also ranked second in kills per set at a 4.62 average. And then Ying Chung Chen is the leader in the conference in assists, averaging 12.12 per set. And Wilfred Navalta is going to be joining us here from Laie, Hawaii, from BYU Hawaii. And it's been an outstanding year. Wilfred, welcome to the PacWest Radio.
Aloha from Hawaii.
And Wilfred, BYU Hawaii having an outstanding season this year. You guys 8-0 in the conference, tied for first with Fresno Pacific, in the top 25 in the country in Division II. Is this season unfolding the way you thought, or is it exceeding your expectations, or is this kind of where you thought you would be?
I think it's kind of exceeding my expectations, but I had a clue from, we have a young team, and we have a nucleus from last year's team. And so, I'm pleasantly surprised.
It's let's talk about a couple of the players. I know Ying Chung Chen is averaging 12.12 assists per set. She leads the conference. Shi-Ting Chen is hitting .333, ranked third in the conference. She's ranked second in kills per set with a 4.62 average. These two players, along with Lauren Hagemeyer, are really a nucleus that makes this program go.
Yeah, no question about it. Our setter, Yang Chen, she's definitely a spark plug, a quarterback for a team, and then of course, Stella Shen, the outside hitter, she's an all-around player, so definitely contributes to our team. Then Hagemeyer, our right side player, just a great athlete, definitely is a nucleus and a great impact for us as far as blocking and spiking and and leadership qualities. Those three are my captains. We have tri-captains, so yes, they're leading our team very well.
Wilfred, when you're looking, you're about to embark on your mainland trip, and you're going to end up on October 30th at Fresno Pacific. It's no secret that the two of you are both unbeaten. And how do you, as a coach, keep the players focused? You're going to make this long road trip. You have multiple games. This match is at the end. How do you keep them from looking at that match, knowing that you still have other matches in San Francisco and other parts of the Southwest before you hit there?
Well, it's all, our philosophy, we don't look far ahead. It's just one game at a time. We're focusing on Hilo, tomorrow night, and that's expectation. That's what we try to do. So we'll just go and take it one match at a time, and when we get to Fresno Pacific, then we focus on them.
Is it when you kind of came into this season and you look at the trio of players that you talked about being the leaders and the tri-captains, how have they impacted the rest of the team? Is it the work ethic? Is it the younger players take a look and say, "Look, these are our leaders. Look what we accomplished." Are they following them and buying into it?
Well, they're expected to lead. There's no question about it on the court and off the court. But, as a team, we have a very good chemistry. The entire team, whether it's the tri-captains or not, they all contribute. They have good attitudes, they have good work ethic, and it's a total team effort. And whenever any of those three, happen to receive some recognition, everybody feels that, it's a team effort. And, we had, those three had some recognition, and they feel appreciative and humble, but they always recognize their teammates. So we have a pretty good perception as far as those three players.
I noticed there's a young a player, and make sure I get her name right. Is it Michelle Tavaga?
Tavaga, yes.
Tavaga. Yes. I noticed her starting to come on here in the season. You start seeing her pop up, really contributing. I mean, she's contributed all year, but I started really noticing in the last few weeks. Talk about her as a player, because it gives you kind of another position that the opposition has to worry about.
Well, Tuli Tavaga, was in a program a couple of years ago. She took off from school, then later on, got married, and so she's coming back. This is her final year, but her conditioning is starting to develop, and she's getting much better as far as her overall skills. But mainly it's because she's getting into better shape, and that's the reason why now she's starting to contribute, to the team. She's a good athlete, good leader, very vocal on the court, so it's a good chemistry that she brings to the team.
Is it when you go on when you're about to embark on this long road trip and you're here on the mainland for a while? As a coach, what are some of the biggest challenges you face? Because you have students that are going to school, you have students obviously that are married in the BYU Hawaii program, so that's an additional. They got families back home. How as a coach in this kind of unique situation do you kind of manage this?
Well, we're very specific as far as what we do. We have time management. We try to schedule the kids and let them know of our itinerary, for the entire road trip. We go day by day, what to expect, and we try to give them as much rest as possible. But they understand that they have to take care of business as far as school, as far as practices, as far as travel, and just be ready to compete. So we're pretty specific as far as how we organize our travel, our hotels, our meals, our practices, and I think that has helped the team to kind of focus and get their biorhythms in line with the change as we travel to different places.
Is it hard to get used to the time change when you first come to the mainland? I don't think people really realize the 2-3 hour difference.
It's something we cannot change. So we tell the kids, look, this is what we're going to do, and we just need to adjust and make no excuses. Just get ready, and we try to get a workout in and a rest in, and try to adjust as soon as possible. It's not too bad for us to travel from Hawaii to San Francisco, to California. I know it's maybe 3 hour difference, so 2 or 3 hour difference. But if we go further east, then it becomes a greater challenge.
You guys had a pretty tough schedule. You were up in the Concordia St. Paul tournament? Is that what you were at?
Oh yeah. We played Concordia up there, and the 5-time defending national champions and Southwest. There were great teams up there, and we competed well against them. But it was a good experience for us to go up there and see what kind of competition that they have up there. But Brad Starkey was nice to invite us to go, so we had a great experience up there.
It's I think you came out of that tournament. That was a really tough tournament when you look at the schools that were in there. And you guys came out, what was it, 2-2 that you came out of that tournament?
Yeah, 2-2. Yeah. We lost to Concordia, 3-0, but it was very competitive. Two sets were very competitive. Then we lost to Southwest. They're the number one ranking team now in the nation.
Wow.
And we went 3-1 with them, but the scores are very close. So it was a good experience for us to get ready for, the conference and, hopefully later on as the season progresses.
Well, and that's what I was going to lead into, that the next question was, when you play in a tournament like that, that experience, obviously it's helping you now because there's not really, when you play a 5-time national champion and now play a team that's number one early in the season, you guys are a far different team now than you were during that tournament.
Yeah, we are. There's no question. The kids are more mature, we're healthier, and with the experience of playing some great teams up in Concordia and Minnesota, has definitely helped us for the conference, too.
Wilfred, talk about, and I'll generally ask this of the BYU Hawaii coaches, but talk about your recruiting and where you recruit. I mean, because of just the nature of the school and being in Hawaii, your kind of footprint for recruiting expands both east and west of Hawaii.
Well, BYU Hawaii, we're an international school, so we get kids from Asia, from South Pacific, and of course the mainland, and in the past, throughout the world. So, but our main focus really is in Hawaii, and if we can't get the kids in Hawaii, then of course we start branching out to the mainland, and of course the international. And we've had some, pretty good success in recruiting internationally, and also had pretty good success here in Hawaii, and try to get the best athletes, for the mainland too. So, that's the key in any successful program, and try to recruit. And we've been fortunate to have some good athletes, academic, athletes, also looking at our program. So that's the key in really success.
One of the things about volleyball, and I asked Kelly Winter the same question, I'd like to ask you about statistics. Sometimes you look at statistics in different sports, it does tell a story. It doesn't always tell the whole story, but in volleyball, it's really difficult to look at the statistics because it's almost position specific. And when you're looking at a stat sheet and you're looking at the conference leaders, is there anything in your mind that's kind of is there a statistical category that's most important, or are they just so different that there's just a different importance for each one? In other words, Lauren Hagemeyer leads in hitting in the conference, is hitting 381. But you can't really, that's an offensive category compared to like somebody that's leading in digs, which will never get those offensive stats, So how do you, as a coach, do you look at stats in volleyball?
Well, I do look at the stats, but when it comes right down to it, it's a total team effort. And I don't really pay attention too much to stats. I pay attention mostly, the main, attacker, their style, their defense, and prepare that way. Realizing that, most of the attacks are going to go to, the key players as far as statistically when we look at that.
Do you find that teams will, in a strategy of volleyball, and this is a stat that probably never could be recorded, that they intentionally try to hit away from certain players, that to try to avoid them because you have a good defensive player or somebody that's really good in blocking? Is there strategies where they'll try to hit around? So now you've created a person that maybe not getting stats, but they're intimidating just by being on the court.
Well, our style is, my philosophy is kind of, whatever the defense gives us, that's what we take. I mean, if they're loading up on, Hagemeyer, then we're going to balance somehow. But I rely mostly on a system and a situation for my quarterback to make the right decisions and read. Then she has to go based upon what the defense is doing. Then, because our team is quite well balanced. Hagemeyer, Chen. They're leading in as far as offense, but I try to get my Saturday, just balance it and then go from there. Then make your adjustments as we go along.
Well, Wilfred, we appreciate you joining us on the program. Good luck. I know everybody's anxious to see that matchup with Fresno Pacific, but you got a whole bunch of games before you get there. So congratulations on a great season so far. Continue the success in the Pac West.
All right, thank you, and aloha from Hawaii.
All right, aloha. Wilfred Navalta, the head coach of BYU Hawaii, joining us. And I'd like to thank Kelly Winter and Kathleen Anderson from Fresno Pacific University. Terrific show of volleyball coming down to a climactic conclusion here between a couple of schools, but we can't forget there are other schools like Holy Names and California Baptist that only have 2 losses, and Grand Canyon has 3 losses in the conference, and they're all fighting for a conference championship.
And, we still have Malik out there from Pakistan and his family watching us live here doing the Pac West Magazine radio show.
If Malik, is it Malik or Malik?
I don't know.
Well, if
Malik,
I'll say Malik, you say Malik, but we hope one of us will get it right. But, hey, if you have good athletes and like to come, interested, athletic competition is terrific in the United States, and it's a great way to get a college education.
That's right. And, one day I'd love to see Pakistan. I don't know much about, we all have those preconceived notions of what it looks like. And I'd love to see it, what the terrain looks like out there. Is it all sandy? Is it all, who knows?
That's, maybe someday, Joe, you could take a trip.
I think I'll start with photos.
So for Joe Carrero, I'm Tom DiCamillo. Next week, we will have the predicted order of finish for the men's and women's cross-country championships, a preview of the championships, and then the following 2 weeks will be the women's and men's basketball media days on Pac West Radio. For Joe Carrero, I'm Tom DiCamillo. We'll check you out next Thursday on Pac West Radio.
We'll see you then.
Hi, this is Daniel, your host for Rock and Roll 101, every other Sunday at 5 on KQCK.